Welcome to the box office, guys. We got an interesting matchup today that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Um, First and foremost, this is going to be an undercard co-feature, not this Saturday, next Saturday, in the I believe the Zone Jojo Diaz card. Um, Interesting matchup, one that we should look out for, and I'm very excited. We have Brian Castañedo or Castano, I'm sorry, versus Patrick Texiera. Something to note, and this doesn't happen regularly, but the champion of this fight is actually the underdog, meaning you bet for the champion to retain his title, and you can potentially be making some money. And he's actually a decent sized underdog. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about matchups, bets, smart bets, dumb bets to make. And I still have my same question from my last video. Who should Caleb Plant's next opponent be? Remember, he didn't look so hot in his last fight. Blamed it in the hand injury. Comment down below. But let's get going. Let's talk the fight game. Let's talk boxing. Just before we get going, don't forget to like the video, and please, please, please subscribe down below. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'm going to be a lot more active throughout the days and throughout the weeks, especially as boxing picks up, giving you fight predictions, bets, odds, and what to look out for in these fights, and fights to look out for, and potentially young stars that are going to be up and coming. And obviously, when young stars, they're always favored, so odds on that. All right, so let's go back to our versus screen. All right, so we got Brian Castano versus Patrick Texiera. Um, Brian Castano is a up and coming fighter. He has, I don't want to say more experience. He has more amateur experience, and then he does have how can I say it? More notable wins. One of them being against Earl Spence in the amateurs. That's something a lot of people don't know about, but it is something that happened way back in the day in the amateurs. He is a late bloomer into this game, all right, into the game of boxing. At 16-0, 12 wins coming by the way of knockout, one draw against an opponent that he should have really, an old Eddie Lara, all right. So that alone should tell you where we're at. But don't get me wrong, Eddie Lara is always a guy that can come forward and, pull up the upset. Patrick Texiera, on the other hand, the champion, the underdog, he has a notable win against Carlos Adames, so he's looking to keep the momentum going. So let's look at the keys to victory for the blue side. I'll talk about Brian, and then I'll talk about Patrick Texiera. So the keys for victory for Brian. A couple things. Like I said, he beat Earl Spence in the amateurs. In the World Boxing Classic, or that World Boxing, World Series of Boxing, I'm sorry, he actually beat Sergey Derevchenko, which was the guy that went toe-to-toe with Triple G and then lost to a Charlo. So he has some notable wins, which is why he's regarded as the favorite here. Keep in mind, this Eddie Lara fight, old ladies Line in 2019, and I believe like the Derevchenko fight was in like 2012. In the amateurs, I don't even remember when he beat Earl Spence, because Earl Spence has been a pro for quite some time now. But he does have the experience fighting elite level, elite caliber fighters in terms of volume. More recently, I would give the edge out to Teixeira when he pulled up the upset victory against Carlos Adames. But in terms of sheer volume, Brian has more experience with elite level competition. Now, key number one, Brian. Thing you have to do if you want to become a champion, and if you want to, win as a favorite, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to bounce around. All right, you're gonna have to bounce around. When you fight inside, fight inside. When you fight from the distance, fight from the distance. He is a lot more explosive. I will say this, than Eddie Lara and then Teixeira. And I want to say maybe even Carlos Adames. He has shown glimpses of him being fast, explosive, but the thing that I've seen with Brian is that he doesn't have like a consistent fighting style. I've seen him fighting from a distance. I've seen him explode fighting the inside and back up. And then I've also seen him come straight forward, and he does throw a lot of punches. And if he comes forward and he fights like he did with Eddie Lada's fight, Patrick Texiera is not someone that is going to back off either. This can be a very, very, very entertaining fight. All right, one that we might not want to miss, because if you go back in that Eddie Lara fight, he comes forward and he stays in the pocket, and that's what I'm talking about. You got to bounce around from offense to defense. You got to keep the opponent guessing when you're going to be dodging and weaving, when you're going to counter, and when you're going to come forward and unload your punches. You have to bounce around from offense to defense. Keep in mind, don't always stay offensive oriented. Don't always stay too defensive. You have to bounce around from offense to defense. Find your rhythm. And when I say no rhythm for point number 2, I mean don't let Teixeira get in a rhythm with his offense. He is a lanky southpaw, so he does have that jab to his favor. He does have this awkward come forward, punches from all kinds of angles style. But you, Brian, you have to put a stop to that. And that's when you're bouncing back and forth. You're going to attack, and if he tries to catch and shoot, you're going to bounce back out, defend, move around, circle the ring generalship, and then you attack again. Keep him off balance. Don't let him get in rhythm offensively, and you'll have a great chance of winning the early rounds. You do have pop. You have knocked out quite a few of your last opponents, so you do have pop. You land enough, you will stop them, you will drop them, but this comes with the warning. Patrick Texiera took punches from Carlos Adames, took a lot of punishment, didn't go anywhere. Carlos Adames is regarded as one of the heavier punchers in this division, just for the sheer fact that how he carries himself, the weight cut. He's a big dude. So, you're going to have to get this guy out with precision and counter striking instead of coming forward. But whatever works for you. I've seen you fight in different dimensions of boxing, where you're fighting on the inside, you're fighting on the outside. Bounce around, find where you're comfortable. Don't let him get in rhythm, and keep your distance. This is very, very important because, like I mentioned, he is taller. He is a southpaw. All right. Last thing you want to do is being caught right after you land a combination, and let's say you pull straight back. Guy is long. He's gonna swing that hook. He's gonna throw that overhand. Let's not get caught in that awkward middle ground, that middle distance. Fight either on the inside, on the outside. Fight where you're going to be comfortable. As the fight progresses and you learn your distance, you learn what you can get away with, stay in that distance. But for the most part, don't let him get in rhythm, and don't fight at a distance where he's comfortable and where he can land a punch. The last thing you want to do is get brought out to a war like with Adames, where you have your success early on. He is a strong, durable guy, and he starts rattling towards the end of the fight, and it's a draw or he gets the victory. All right, so you bounce around, offense to defense. Don't let him get in rhythm, and then fight at your distance where you're comfortable, where you can hit and not get hit, and you should be able to pull off a victory, and you'll get, whoop, not that one, right there. You'll get that win. You'll be collecting that gold, and you'll be moving forward with your career. Now, on the other side, the red corner, the champion underdog, that doesn't happen often, but does seem to happen from time to time. Patrick Texiera is a durable guy. He's actually he's actually very impressive what he was able to pull off. He has 31 fights, 1 loss. 22 of those wins coming by the way of knockout. He is a 5'11". Last fight was against Carlos Adames in a fight where they brought it to him. He withstood the barrage of punches. He took punches. He was bloodied up, and he was able to, I believe, drop Adames and go out with the victory. This fight was a fight that was potentially, I mean, no one was talking about it for fight of the year, but it was a very exciting fight. And if Brian decides to fight like he fought with Eddie Lara, coming forward, throwing bunches, staying there, it's going to lead to that similar type of fight. And this is why this fight is so exciting. It should be getting a little more hype than it is. It is a co-main event, which is really good on the zone. But we need to talk about this fight. This fight's very exciting. So keys to victory for you. You're 5'11", you're lanky, you're a southpaw. You're not as fast as him. And, so what do you do to combat that speed? If he's trying to catch you, coming in, boom, boom, bouncing in and bouncing out, what do you have to do? What you have to do, Texiera, is you have to time him. You have to start timing him when he's stepping in. If you notice a certain pattern where he sets his foot at a certain angle and then he shoots, when he sets that foot, you got to time him and meet him with your punch. All right, don't let him just shoot and you catch and try to catch him after when you try to catch and shoot. All right, if he shoots at some point, Texiera, you're going to have to shoot with him and try to catch him. All right? Number 2, you got to fight with energy. This is going to be a big one. 12 rounds with Carlos Adames, getting hit and getting hit hard by one of the hardest hitting punchers in the division, and still have the energy to have a late fight rally. Keep that energy. Keep that energy. Use your timing and try to use that volume towards the end of the fight. Try to withstand the early barrage and try to, maybe his speed slows down, and if with your timing you can start timing him even more towards the end of the fight. And then I have number 3, building blocks. You have a couple things that you can build off of. 1, your height, so you're going to have the distance. 2, your southpaw, so you're going to have that jab and you're going to be able to be a little more awkward. You're lanky, all right, so you can make it difficult on him if he's trying to pull out, land a punch, sneak a punch to the body when he's not expecting it, just because of that odd height and length that you're going to have on him. And 3, feet work. Remember, use that front foot, keep it outside of his lead foot so that you can land your punch. All right, boom, boom, all right? And then if you want to catch him with the overhand lead, you can coming in. But you have some things to work on. The height, the length, you have some distance to work with. Give yourself distance, use that timing, and then fight with energy. We know that you like to bang it out. You've banged it out before, and if you can lure him into a fight and you can take his punches, who knows? You might be able to drop someone else that seem to have the power edge or the explosive edge, or seem to have a tactical or physical advantage over you. All right, so keep that in mind. Use those keys, and back to the prediction. So remember, I'm gonna take it back to scene 1, where we're discussing the odds. So at the bottom of the screen, if you pay attention, you have the odds. I believe the one in the middle is Bovada. That's what I use. They have Brian Carlos winning by a significant margin. He's a minus 450, meaning you have to bet $450 to win 100. Brian Castano has the experience. He has an amateur experience, the World Boxing Classic, experience, whatever it was, pro-ams, as you can call it. But this could be a fight that's the perfect storm, all right? Yes, I think he's a better boxer. Yes, I think he's the better prospect of the two. Granted, he is 31 years old and Texiera is technically younger, but he does have a better amateur pedigree. He does have better, I guess, technical skills. He's nice and tight. He's explosive. He's something that you would want to see out of a boxer. All right, so to me, he has all the tools to win this fight, and he should be able to win this fight fairly easy if he sticks to the game plan and he uses his advantages of speed. He can counter, and he can use that feet work. All right, but to me, this presents an interesting matchup, because I honestly don't believe that this fight should be as far as it is. I don't think Texiera needs to be a plus 325 underdog. After how he took punches at Carlos Adames, his energy and his punch output towards the end of the fight, I think this fight should be a little bit closer. It's a plus 325. I think it should be at least a plus 200, 2-1, 250, being generous. But there is some interesting coin here, because I feel like Texiera does have a realistic chance, especially with such a tough fight that he could learn from. Now, The thing with both of these fighters is they've been inconsistent in their careers. So it's going to be very interesting to see who puts together the game plan and who's better that night. Because I feel like in any given day or any given, if they were to fight 10 times, you're not going to get Castano, he's going to win 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 fights. I think it's something more along the lines of a 6-4 either way, 5-5 either way. I personally feel like this is a good fight for both fighters, but that's if they were fighting at their best, at their peak. They're both known to be inconsistent. Brian he is multi-dimensional, but the way he fights, sometimes he's coming forward, and that plays in part to Patrick Texiera. And Patrick Texiera has unfortunately been stopped before, and he's actually had some fights where it seems like he was hurt in the Carlos Adames fight. He was maybe there's some fighters he should have knocked out, gotten out of there. But it's all about matchups, and I do think that Teixeira, it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a oop-de-doo. I mean, he's good, and that's why, and it showed why he beat Carlos Adames. I think this fight's going to be very interesting, and it can go either way. But as far as betting goes, minus 450 is too much for me to bet for to win basically nothing. So what I will do is I'm going to bet Brian Castano by knockout. And the reason I'm doing that is because he's precise and he should be able to land punches and move out the way. Ideally, in a perfect scenario, styles make fights. This guy's flat-footed. He is tall, southpaw. He should be able to box circles around them. But Patrick Texiera just came off a war where he could have learned a lot and he could have gotten that much better. His confidence could be up here. Given the uncertainty between the two fighters, my two bets is going to be Brian Castano by KO and then Patrick Texiera money line, because it's just too good to pass up. All right. So the way I distribute it is I'm going to bet a little bit more on the knockout. And then I'm going to bet, a decent amount on Patrick Texiera. Kind of, as I've mentioned before, it's a roulette table. There's multiple places this can land. And when it's something so drastic, and I do feel that Texiera does have a realistic chance, I start placing chips in different spots. Now, I'm not going to go and bet the house in this type of fight because it's not a type of fight when fighters are inconsistent that I'm going to be like, okay, he's finally going to put it together today, and this is what's going to happen. No, I've tried to be more strategic with my gameplay, so I will bet a little bit on the knockout and a little bit on Texiera money line. All right, so be advised, it is a better fight if, entertaining wise, if Brian fights how he fought at Islandes Lara. Entertainment wise, through the roof. All right, I would say potentially fight of the year. Granted, it's only January. That's why it'd be potential fight of the year. But it's something to keep your eye out for. It is a great fight. Moneyline is not quite there for the favorite. So I always try to, when it's so drastic, a little bit on the underdog. And then always go for the knockout because, hey, it's boxing and anything can happen. All right, so this is an interesting matchup. Let's go try to get that coin. Let's go try to get a good fight, really. Let's enjoy this one because fights like these are kind of what makes boxing so interesting and intriguing. Contrasting styles, but when someone is there to get hit, they're there to get hit. And both of them have shown that they're there to get hit. Which one's going to make the first adjustment? I personally think Brian should be able to get him out of there if he uses his boxing technique. But something in me tells me this might be a war if he goes in there like he fought Lara. But those are my two bets that I'm going to do. This is the boxing office, guys. Let's get this money. Place your bets, and we'll talk about the outcome later. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and peace, love. Take care, guys.